Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Still no swearing. So
Okay.
not that kind of live.
I don't know. Neil might feel like doing that today.
Yeah, Neil, you're not having a very good morning by the sounds.
No, I'm having a great morning, to be honest, because the sun is shining. But no, I was just saying to you guys that we haven't got any surgeries open because I think one of our training nurse just went on holiday, another one's gone on holiday, and we're short-staffed anyway. We're relying on locums. So rather than get a locum in and give me a headache, I thought let's just take a day off and do admin and marketing and talk to you guys.
Absolutely. All the things that you don't normally have time for, to be fair, when you're running a practice.
Well, you have to take it as an opportunity. But yeah, it's the whole nursing thing since the GDC, Brexit, it's COVID, etc. I mean, we're decimated down here. We're in Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
Very expensive. Locums about £25 to £30 an hour.
Wow.
Right. Okay.
And I think our locum nurse earned more than the hygienist last month.
Wow. So it's not a factor that you can't get locum nurses, because we work in some practices where it's actually an area where locum nurses, won't travel to. It's the fact that they're extortionate.
Well, it's a bit of both. Trying to find a good nurse, as you know, is invaluable. So, and we're, multidisciplinary practice, a bit like you guys. So you can't just rock up and do implants and specialist endo and ortho without having some basics.
Yeah.
And we've got 2 or 3 that we know are good, but again, if they're on holiday, etc. And there's one dental nurse we've used twice mistakenly. He just doesn't turn up.
Oh.
Honestly, just literally doesn't turn up. And our local WhatsApp group, everyone is quite infamous. And I think it's quite appalling. He'll take 3 jobs and then decide which job he'll do on the morning.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a rarity. But yeah, generally, the nurses here, especially the Eastern European nurses, have kind of got into quite a bit of a conglomerate where they're sort of, and quite rightly, good for them. They work hard and they're doing it, but they've kind of really looked after themselves as a group and have formed this little WhatsApp locum group. They keep the prices high, and you kind of have to go through them.
Yeah.
But and the trainees we've had, I don't know if you've had any. We're hopefully got a good one now, but we've had to have 4 or 5, frogs before we got the princess.
That's a lovely analogy.
Yeah, we've been in practices where the situation's been quite similar. I mean, one of the recent ones is that we work in a corporate and they didn't renew accidentally didn't renew the GDC registration, and for her to get back onto the GDC was not an easy process. The GDC unfortunately made it extremely difficult. Shall I be talking like this?
You're allowed to. It's only a fact.
It's fact. It's
What
fact.
it is, though. It was ridiculous.
And it took 4 or 5 months, maybe.
Luckily not.
No.
Luckily not.
Luckily not. But it was potentially going to be that.
Yeah.
It really was.
Well, my friend had this about 10 years ago before I started the practice, where it didn't renew, and it took 6 months, and they had to employ it as a second on desk, the third on desk, whatever.
Yeah.
So actually I have it in hours that the nurses pay for their own GDC themselves. They're responsible for it.
Yeah.
But I kind of give them a bonus which is equivalent in that month.
Brilliant.
So I kind of say it's up to you, and if you don't renew, it's your dismissal at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way of doing it. I mean, unfortunately, it was out of this young lady's hands, and
of course,
I think was she the only one in the corporate?
She was.
Oh, that's bad luck.
Very much so.
Yeah, I mean, ridiculous. It was just.
This happens to be our implant nurse as well.
Was our implant nurse? And I mean, she's invaluable.
She is.
Can I change the subject?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, let's talk about whatever you like.
When I was young and growing up in Cleethorpes, I'd have a bit of racism. My dad was a GP. I was only the only brown kid in the school of 1,400. So you had a bit, and it kind of made you a little bit. Sometimes a little bit of adversity. If you get a push and a pull, you kind of have to fight your way out a little bit. And it also made me, I think, be able to talk to lots of different people, because I went to a rough comprehensive.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing on our gates, excuse the swearing, but F off Packy, although we're not from Pakistan. On the gates, and seeing my dad who working really hard, who stood for surgery. So we had a bit of that, and then I redid my A-levels in Cambridge, which was very multicultural. Then I travelled. Then I went to Birmingham, which was actually a bit monocultural, as you know. And then I went to Norfolk, which was very monocultural. In fact, they used to ring up and say, "Oh, does he speak English?" And the receptionist used to say, "Better than you."
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
And then I went to Australia, again, absolutely fine. And then London, as you know, fine. So sorry to go around the houses, but I just felt a little bit of uncertainty last week. Cam and I were going to our Marks and Spencer's in Stevenage, and on the roundabout, every pillar had a St. George's flag, who I believe is Turkish anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't mind people being patriotic, and go to the States, they've got the flags, and and I'm proud to be British, and that's why my kids, we haven't moved to Dubai, because I want my kids to have a British upbringing, queuing and politeness and all those things we like. And I don't know what it's like in the West Midlands, because again, the demographic's different. Is this an we want all brown people out? Is this, we have an issue with immigration on boats? What are they actually trying to say? Do you guys know? Because Cam actually felt a bit scared to kind of go shopping. And that's, like I said, the first time in 40 years, maybe, for me.
No, that is a shame to hear, actually, that you felt like that. That is a shame.
There's a couple of things that I could pick out of that for you. I think it depends on the area that you're in. And so some areas, it literally is exactly what you said, and there's a very strong, why can't we fly the flag? Let's be patriotic and do it. And there are no issues. Where I live, that is certainly the feeling and the sentiment that, you kind of feel in terms of the atmosphere. However, if you travel probably less than 10 miles down the road, there's been an incident where some poor girl was attacked, abused, possibly raped. I didn't get too into the details of the headlines, racially, by a couple of white youths, and there were all the flags and everything was painted on the roundabouts. And the sentiment there that it was very unsafe if you weren't of a clear white ethnic background, which is appalling.
I agree.
And I am very sorry that Cam and yourself have had to feel like that.
Well, it might not be the reality of it. I mean, how we feel
I don't know, Neil.
Doesn't necessarily mean that's what the intention was. Is we have to take responsibility for our own feelings in a way.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if my feelings were justified, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that in some cases, well, if you feel scared and a little bit uncomfortable, then those are your feelings, and those feelings wouldn't have been there if you hadn't sort of had those sort of flags and that kind of those connotations coming across. And I mean, bearing in mind what you said about your background, you can qualify what you've gone through, and stand up for yourself. And I think it's a very poor reflection.
You shouldn't be going to a shop and feeling like that. Let's face it.
Yeah. Well, luckily M&S, I felt pretty safe. But we didn't go to TK Maxx.
Yeah. I once went on a wonderful holiday where Kelly took me to South Africa, and I remember walking up to the other hotel, and there was a bouncer on the door in the hotel, and I said, I'm just going to pop out, maybe get a bite to eat. And he just looked down at me and he just went, I cannot guarantee your safety at night. But we'll stop here then. But yeah, and that's probably the only time where I felt unsafe if I'd have wandered outside. Yeah.
So yeah, just in terms of the conversation, I think that's going to affect immigrant nurses as well, and Eastern European nurses. They're having this feeling they're not welcome.
Yeah.
And England's a bit of not the best place to live in at the moment, financially, economically, and the news is just depressing.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It has been for a while, if you ask me.
Yeah, so we're waiting for a change, and change does happen. But there doesn't seem to be any fundamental grassroots upsurge in solving this sort of nursing issue. And with all the socio-political, economic stuff going on as well, I mean, it's great for nurses that they're getting paid more because historically they've been paid poorly. And,
Yes.
we're happy to pay well. But again, the supply is not there, which then that has a knock-on effect on patient care.
Of course it
Absolutely.
does. Huge. With that in mind, Neil, tell us about your practice. So what you have?
So I started the practice. Well, I was an associate for a long time, and I travelled around a lot, and I was very happy-go-lucky. I settled down late, I married late, and I thought, no, it can't be too hard being a principal. Obviously, I was wrong. So partly it was I'd sort of done a lot in my old practice where I really helped that grow and realised I wasn't growing with the practice. But I learnt, teams and finance and bits from my peers. But I went to Spear Education in Arizona, and that really made me realise, and that's when I became a good dentist. I wasn't a good dentist for years, but that made me a very good dentist, and it was just the opportunity and the learning and obviously funding myself through that. And the ethos is very much someone needs to treatment plan properly. And I see it day in, day out with lots of the patients. They're just very single tooth thinking. In fact, Carl, I was thinking of you the other day. A lady's had an implant placed in lower left 7, absolutely fine, but the lower left 6 has got a furcation lesion and an area on it. And no one's told this lady, well, actually, you might going to lose a 6. Would you rather have the implant in the 6? Would you rather have both? And obviously the knock-on effect, I don't know how you feel about having an implant next to something with an infection.
Okay.
And there's caries and perio elsewhere. So they just have their hat on, and it's very narrow. Yeah. So I kind of treatment plan, and then for the last 10 years we've had perio, endo, ortho, and they're all equally important, and just try and guide the pathways and make sure the ball's not dropped. So brilliant. I think we do really good dentistry, even though, my hands are okay, but actually using the right people and getting the plan right is more important than getting your 0.1 millimeter margin.
100%. 100%. I mean, I was lucky that I did my perio course with Jose, and one of the very first task that he did was to put up a little slide about a patient and got us all to treatment plan this patient that he treated, and it was a perio course, so everybody was talking perio, and the solution was actually just to take all his teeth out, given the history of the patient, and give him dentures. Implants were a massive thing in those days, and it was that way of kind of getting you out of your lane and thinking about the big picture for the patient, because what they hadn't taken into consideration was his attendance, his smoking, the fact that all the teeth were such a poor prognosis, apart from maybe one or two. So everybody was thinking, we're on the perio course.
That's all that.
So we've got to save them.
Yeah.
Actually, that was the whole point of the slide, and I thought that was a brilliant way of shaking everybody up to make you think. Don't think just one way. Think everything.
One of my mentors, Raj Aluwalia, who got me into Pankey and then Spear. And again, it's about who you hang around with is so important. We put a case up, and we're all treatment planning it, and there's a room of 10 of us, and we're all thinking, oh, should we do this? Should we do crown lengthening? No one mentioned money, and no one mentioned what was profitable. They all mentioned what was good. And at the end of the discussion, Raj said, I just want to introduce you to, and at the back was the patient.
Brilliant.
So we had the patient in there, and he luckily trusted us enough to do the right thing. Yeah. But we're also seeing, and I'm seeing a lot on Instagram, and I'm seeing dentists who are pretending to be shiny, and if you look at their GDC stuff, what's going on, and dishonesty, and they're profiteering. Have we lost something, Carl? Because I would have thought our generation, we really were trying to do the right thing and the money would come. And now it just seems to be, we're not chasing the right thing, we're chasing the money.
Yeah, I think we were lucky in lots of ways. And one was the training that we had, the training pathways that were open to us. Because I went down the second GPT route. So I ended up going into the hospital again back at Birmingham actually, going through all those, so half time in practice. So you were bringing, in fact, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, one of the guys that I've done it with. So we brought what we'd learnt in our first year of vocational training, as it was in those days, and our part-time in practice into the hospital. So we were kind of hopefully making the hospital a little bit more efficient, because we all know how that might work. And we were taking the advanced training from those clinicians back into the practice. So that was the treatment planning side of it, and some of the other skills. So it was a really good way of learning. And there was a lot of ethical planning and looking after those patients brought out of that. So it gave us a really good grounding to go forward. And then the contract and the way that it worked that we had. So you could look after your patients properly. And then, of course, was it 2006? That changed totally. And now they're being brought into this environment where, I think the training from dental school has changed in terms of the amount of work that they're doing in dental school, and coming out with the experience is totally different to what we had. I think then when they're going into their vocational training or their FD pathway, the experience again is much less than what we were given. And then I don't think the contract helps in the slightest at all. We were coming out with so many extractions, so many crown preps, so much endo, so much perio, and that's all gone. I'm talking to a couple of the dentists that have got the trainees, and saying, they might have taken 1 tooth out and not done a crown prep ever.
Jeez.
And it's like, really?
They're also scared.
Yeah.
We didn't have this litigation thing. There was probably, one GDC case a year that you'd hear about. But now, because I get to talk to young dentists regarding indemnity and stuff, and, they just sometimes phone me out just casually, or they just want a bit of advice, or what shall I do here? And they're either so scared to do things, so they don't do anything, or they're overconfident because they haven't had the fall, and they're trying to do full mouth rehabs with a very limited knowledge. And I'm like, well, you don't know that, you don't know that, you don't know what you don't know, exactly. So I think they're dangerous on both ends. They're either under or over, and that is the training, the NHS, and litigation. And it's a shame private VT has been trying to. Andy Lane tried to do it, and there's some mentoring going on. But that seems to be a really good way for the future to me.
I agree. I think it is that. It looks like a very good pathway, but it doesn't seem to have taken off as much as I thought it was going to.
I don't think it's I think it's just too many obstacles being put up by people who want to protect the status quo.
Yeah, or being forced to work on the NHS after
you
qualify.
Which is fine as long as obviously all the architects and vets and solicitors and everybody else who has a university degree.
Exactly what I thought.
Should do the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Neel, you just touched upon, obviously, talking to other dentists. Carl and I have got a bit of an understanding of the other business that you run. Tell us about that, how you came about it, what it is, what you offer.
Well, it's professional dental indemnity, PDI, and as I said, I gallivanted a lot. I settled down late. I had lots of time. I had lots of nice cars, lots of holidays. And one thing I really like doing is helping people. And maybe that's just because it makes me feel better, or, there's something, it's not altruistic. I get a joy out of helping people. And so people used to ask me all sorts of advice, or boards, or DMG, or whoever it was, GC. So I would sort of do all this stuff to help people. And I met a chap called Gary, who Carl knows as well, who's my now business partner in PDI. And we both like cars, and he was doing some CPD events for plastic surgeons. And, I've got a group called Turbine. We do a lot of car stuff. I used to. So we were looking at just doing something together, and I said, what do you do? And he said, I started one of the biggest insurance companies for breast surgeons. So he had an insurance background, and he'd left that, and he was on sabbatical for a year, thus the gallivanting around for him. And I said, we're having a terrible time in dentistry. My friends are being just over nothing, going to the GDCs, taking years, and also my own indemnifier who used to be really good. I won't say who they are, but they're the biggest one. I had to just ask for a letter of help, and they were so poor. I'm a bit worried about actually. And also, I had a patient who worked for them as well, and she was telling me how it was getting worse and what was happening. So I could kind of see this culture of, disharmony. And Gary said, "Oh, I think there might be something here," and he's going to go and speak to an underwriter. And he said, "Oh, we'd love to have your input." So I was just going along for like, well, I'm a dentist. I don't know anything about insurance. I don't really like law. I don't really like complaints. But, I'll come and help you and give you my advice, for what it's worth. So we went to the City of London. It's very shiny, big office, very different from, our little dental practice with just us and a nurse. Super, super glamorous, and wealth everywhere and, restaurants and bars and buzzy. And I thought, well, this is really nice. And we saw a lady called Sharon, who was the underwriter at CFC. And she was so impressive. She was sort of late 40s, mid 50s, commuted 2 hours to work, had a child on her own, really formidable, really wanted to fight our corner as, she says, "Oh, your indemnifiers just lay over everything. We like a fight. We want to, answer back." And I said, "Well, this is all great stuff." And we just had a bit of a chat. And I sort of left it to them. I thought, well, you guys, I had a nice lunch out of it, thanks. And then sort of Gary spoke to me and said, we want to go forward with something, but we think we need a dentist on board because we understand insurance and you understand dentistry. And that's how it came about, really. I had no interest, no legal mind, and I had to learn as I went along because I didn't really understand all the terms, claims made, claims occurred. So actually me being a bit stupid helped because I had to ask basic questions, which we all ask, and have to kind of put it in layman's terms and figure out what it was. So over the years, obviously, I've learnt a lot, and I can explain it to dentists in a different way that, the legal team would, or, an underwriter would explain it. And so we introduce our dentists to brokers, and we've had 1 or 2 brokers over the year, and we're very settled now where we are. And different underwriters as well. So we're really there as to put an arm around you, make sure you get looked after, and it's not just the little guy against the big guy. We've got a cohort of people that you have to look after us because otherwise we'll walk. So we have a little bit of buying power, and fundamentally we just look after dentists. We're not really interested in commissions and sales and stuff. We just want to have really nice dentists that can WhatsApp me at any time, any issues, give us a call and I'll point them in the right direction. And I think we've had about 98% retention over, we've been going about 8 years now, I think. 5 years, 7 years.
That's fantastic.
So I think it's to be able to WhatsApp me at 11 o'clock at night and say, oh, which number do I need, or I need a bit of advice, and I answer, partly because I've got a 1-year-old, so I'm up anyway. But I think, same with dentistry, it's service, isn't it?
Very, very much so. Very much so.
You want the quality of product, but if you don't have the service, it's you can go to the best hotel, and if they're not nice to you, you don't like it. So
absolutely, absolutely.
So we've married the service with the product, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not biased. You came along at the perfect time for me because I kind of moved away from general dentistry, was focusing on the implants, and I was cutting down the amount of time. Sorry, Kate. I was cutting down the amount of time that I was sort of in practice, so clinically, but my indemnity was going up, and it just wasn't making any sense to me. I thought, I'm less risk to you. I'm more qualified. I'm more experienced than I've ever been, and I'm working less hours, and yet my costs are going sky high. And we just happened to sort of have a kind of conversation, and it was perfect. Absolutely, it was a perfect storm for me. And I was a little bit nervous as a potential switch over from that very big company, that organisation that you were talking about. I'm sure it's the same one. And I was just getting twitchy with what was happening as well, and I didn't really feel supported. Didn't really feel I got that arm around me. Felt that I could just be thrown to the dogs at any time if something did go wrong, and hopefully that won't happen. And then we had the conversation with you, had a conversation with Gary, answered quite a lot of questions that I'd got, and it's been superb. I think it was a great solution to a problem that was out there.
I agree.
And I just hope it goes from strength to strength, which I'm sure it will do. I think it's a brilliant answer.
That's very good to hear. And if we do get it wrong, we just want people to tell us, we learn and we get better. And again,
feedback.
The brokers, because the brokers and underwriters sometimes put a clause in. Actually, they had one the other week, which we've kind of resolved. They didn't realise we can do surgicals as general practice. They thought surgical meant oral surgery, meant oral surgeon. And there was a little bit of a sort of discrepancy in what was general practice and what was not. So we had someone flagged it up and we had a conversation about it. And I said, no, every dentist should be able to do a surgical. Whether they can is a different matter, but, it is routine dentistry.
Yeah.
So again, we just tweaked it a little bit. Otherwise, they wouldn't know. And then there might be someone left high and dry if we're not careful. Yeah. So we're just very good at making sure that we argue our corner. And to be honest, the brokers as well, they go above and beyond. So when people have had something that's not quite in their contract and I've said, look, we really need to help this guy, they will assign and put someone in and do some help. So they have the same ethos again, that do the right thing and in it for the long term, really.
Yeah,
because people's careers are 20, 30 years. We don't want them just for 1 year. Look after them and hope they stay. Same with patients, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Well, sounds like you've got a good relationship with them, because like you've said, when you started out with them, it was a big learning curve for you. You had the dental knowledge that they needed, but likewise, they don't have that dental knowledge. And still now, there's some bits that they're not aware of. And that's where you can step in and go, no, or yes.
And, I know lots of people just through, networking in the past, and so I can ask some great people like Carl or, Zaki or somebody, and I can just say, oh, what do you think of this? And, I can get the pulse of the profession quite quickly, which, they're quite limited in a way of who they can reach out to.
100%.
So, no, I think it works well, and we're trying hard. We're trying hard to grow. But again, we have a bit of Instagram, which I don't like doing, and and word of mouth. It really is recommendations most of the time.
So, big question, Neil. Do you enjoy doing your dentistry more? Or do you enjoy doing the indemnity more?
Both for different reasons. And if I can sort of tell you what I enjoy about both, the running the practice is a headache, and you grow with that. Over the last 10 years, I've grown as a person, and, I'm capable of much more than when I was an associate. So going through, like we said, going back to my childhood, going through some hardship is actually quite good for you. So having the practice is a learning curve, and it's a bit like a baby that never grows. You're always having to feed it and nurture it and put some effort into it. And I think it's sad when you have to sell it at the end, because you put your heart into something and then actually it's just numbers.
Yes.
So I think running the practice, I don't really like. I don't really like the admin. I don't like that stuff. And luckily we've got a team around me that will all help and do our bit, and we all look after each other. I love the people in dentistry. So we've got such interesting patients, whether they're a teacher or a CEO or a billionaire or a footballer or a pop singer. There's all these little stories, especially little old ladies, I was a nurse in Colombia when I was, whatever it is, it's just brilliant stories. And to see them when they started and where they are now, whether it was fear or whether it was neglect. So we've helped so many people. So I like helping the people. I like academically using my brain to try and figure it out. And I can do that quite easily now. I'm quite used to it. I like wowing them. I know that's a bit sort of egotistical, but when they come and it's a wow experience and no one's shown me that, or no one's taken pictures, or so I like that kind of first date feeling as well. The physical dentistry I'm less keen on now. My neck hurts a bit. C5, C6 is going. So I've got a scope. I've been using a scope for 8-9 years now for everything, for exams, for preps, for everything. And that really has saved my necks. In fact, I bought some loops just for the other surgery, and I started using them, and that's where my neck went. So they're decent loops, but just doing this as opposed to doing this. So I think I'm struggling a little bit with dentistry musculoskeletal. But yeah, the people and the treatment planning I really love, and hopefully we've got enough good people around to do the other bits, try and farm it out. Indemnity-wise, there's no staffing, there's no equipment failure, the software doesn't go down. I'm not £3,000 down before I even start, the day. So I love the fact that actually it hasn't got a lot of value because there's no entity, there's no building or whatever, but there's actually no stresses in terms of managing people, managing equipment. The investment is quite low. So as a economical thing, as a financial thing, it works quite nicely, and it just relies on us just doing the right thing, being good, and being out there.
Yes.
So I quite like that it's a bit purer and there's less grief in it. And having got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, I've got to think maybe 20 years of earning, and I'm 54 or something. So I'm not going to be doing dentistry at 74, I think. So I'm trying to transition a little bit more and grow PDI just to keep them in school. And now I've got to work an extra 20% harder as well, thanks to the recent changes. So yeah, they both have their joys, and I'm lucky to have both, to be honest.
Yes.
One I fell into, and I'm grateful because that probably look after my children, and the profession has looked after me.
Yes. It's amazing that you juggle the 3, young family, and 2 businesses.
Not well.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
I try, but it's hard to multitask, isn't it? I find just try and do one thing well. And I suppose it's about discipline. You've got to set your boundaries, set the time, and have different. You're too young, Kate, but Carl, do you remember Wurzel Gummidge?
Yeah, I do.
He had a different head, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, so
So
you just have to take.
I don't think he had a pub head, but yeah.
The youngsters won't know what we're talking about, but you have to literally take one head off and put another head on, and be that person.
What a great analogy. I like that.
It is very, very good. He's going to remake. Do you know what I do? And I was actually going to say Aunt Sally, but for those that think I'm too young to go, I'll take that.
Yeah. I think I used to quite fancy Aunt Sally.
She had very rosy cheeks. Very rosy cheeks.
She was a healthy lady.
She was a healthy lady. Although Wurzel Gummidge used to scare me. So.
Oh, yeah.
Used to scare me. But that is a good analogy, I agree. It is about, funny enough, Carl and I were only talking about this earlier today, about the time management as well, is in having that protected time to do that task. So whether it's for your indemnity work, whether it's for the dentistry work, whether it's family, it is really important. And it's such a simple thing to say, but it's quite profound. You have that dedicated time and that protected time. It's unbelievable how productive you can be.
Oh, when you've only got half an hour to do something, as opposed to you've got 3 hours to faff, Yeah. And also, and as we're getting older, time is the most valuable thing we've got. So people who waste your time, or, if you're not spending it with your family or going forward, then it's wasted, isn't it? And that's another thing you don't value when you're younger. I think how important time is, and making the most of that time. Even if it's doing nothing, that's still important if it's the thing you need.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. And with the people that you want to be as well.
Yeah.
Youth is wasted on the young.
And that's why, again, set up the practice, because, I love the nurses here, I love the team here. It's my little family, and they're my friends.
Yeah.
And as you know, when you've got young children, your friend circle drops, and you rely on, and you look at who's around you. So they've been really good support for us, and hopefully vice versa.
Yeah. I think if you can have a good team within a practice, you're more than halfway there. You really are, because like you've said, you have to rely on each other, or you need to rely on, or be able to rely on each other. So having a good team, I think, is priceless for many, many reasons.
Well, I think 4 of my team have been with me 10 years. It's just the 5th and the 6th tend to be really hard to get that fit. Hopefully we've got it now, but it's been really hard to get It can be, what's that? A rotten apple in a barrel can really quickly,
I'm afraid.
So recruitment is so important.
Yeah, this is something that Carl and I hear a lot of with us travelling around different practices, and recruitment is a major headache. Well, I would say the most thing that they speak about, Carl, isn't it?
Certainly in the more rural practices we visit, less so in the more the urban ones. But even then, in sometimes getting the right fit in those practices, like you were saying, Neil, can be quite tricky because they kind of get quite a strong fall off of the team members, coming in and coming out. That could be the associates, that can be the support team as well. We've seen that happen, where everything's just fallen apart, unfortunately, which is it's sad to see, but we have seen it. And then in the more rural areas, it's all about recruitment, and once they manage to recruit and keep them, and that's happened, and they've got the good team, and then one or two of them then go off on maternity leave, and it all starts again.
That's it. Yeah, that's the circle of life. Yeah, I think we probably had 4 or 5 years of maternity, and it's great to see them, and they come back or they don't come back, but good for them that we were here for that part of the journey with them, and now for the next part. But no, it's fantastic. So it looks like you're in the surgery, or is that a screensaver, Carl, behind
This is
you?
a screensaver.
Ah,
Yeah.
Very Jersey.
You'll see a little picture behind me, which I'm putting up, and a few spiders and things like that. Sorry, Kate. But yeah, I'm up in the office at the moment. I'm blessed with the fact that we've actually got internet because it's been playing up a little bit. I've managed to fix it. Yeah, it doesn't look as nice as this. It doesn't look as nice as this.
So are you finding your time now the most rewarding time in terms of what you're doing, you pick and choose the patients you want to see, the practices you want to work in?
Very much so. Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that I work with Kate and we work together like this. So it's been a great partnership. It is a great partnership. Again, what's that? And it works extremely well for us. So we sort of balance our skills out quite nicely, I think, and that's helped kind of certainly give me a little bit more time to remove myself fully clinically and sort of focus on some non-clinical things. So yeah, I feel that my kind of work-life balance is getting better. It's not great, but it's getting better. And I'm hats off to you, Neil. Starting with a young family, they're going to need more and more of your time as they kind of oddly grow up a little bit.
I know.
My youngest is now going through his GCSEs.
Yeah.
And Kate knows, because I've mentioned it, that he had a trip to Spain and the flight was cancelled, so it's all been chaotic. He's still not back.
No.
So we're kind of battling that at the moment. I'll probably get told off for doing this. Rather than helping out. And I was fortunate to do a big run over the weekend, so I had the time to do that, to go up to Yorkshire with a friend of mine who's actually a dentist. And we attempted to run 100 kilometres together, but the weather got the better of us. Little things like that. That's going off track slightly, but yeah, I have noticed that I'm getting, with age, the experience, choosing. I think that comes with confidence as you grow a little bit. Like you want to help everybody, or as many people as you can. And sometimes you need to know when to say no.
Yep.
And we had to do that recently as well, didn't we, Kate?
We have, and that will help them, but just not in the way maybe they initially thought. It's not always easy to say no, but sometimes you have to step back and actually think, it's going to be better if we say no and, advise something else.
Yeah. You just have to be true, don't you? Honest to yourself and honest to the patient.
I think that's it. I don't know. No doesn't come easy to me, oddly
No,
enough.
right.
I don't find it. Want to help people innately, like you do, by the sounds of things. That's kind of. I think that's why we went into dentistry. Probably was to, be there to, make people better and help them out. So sometimes when you're not the right person to help them out, recognizing that and being able to say no, to pass them to the right person.
Yep.
Isn't a skill that you have straight away.
No.
And it's something you either learn by making the mistakes and regretting them and then thinking, why did I do that?
I think you don't think you can say no. Like if a patient comes in, oh, they've paid their fee, their exam fee. I have to try and rescue this, shattered tooth, subgingival caries.
Yeah.
No, you can walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's not in your skill set, or sometimes I say it only happens once a year where I have to try and move someone on. But I'll say the team and I sense that you're not happy with us because when you've come in, you don't, we feel this, and I just want to explore that with you. Is there something you're not happy with? Have we let you down in some way? And they usually go, oh, I didn't know. They feel that, they didn't know that they were being like that, or there was some issue. So
it's interesting, isn't it?
Just try and put it out there and just say, look, we're sensing something. It's not quite right. What is it?
Yeah.
And people and said, oh yeah, maybe I'm not really happy here, and I might go back to my thoughts. That would be, that's absolutely fine. And we happily support you, and we can have your records, etc. And all the team go, oh.
Yeah. I remember I'd worked in a practice for, I think I want to say about 7 or 8 years, and I decided to set my own practice up, and I was telling the patients as they were coming in one by one, and there was a lady that I'd been looking after for about 5 or 6 years, and I thought she hated me. She was always pretty aggressive, always, disagreeing with me, and it was one of the people that, I'm sorry to say this to people that are patients that are listening, but it was on your day list, and you'd get a bit stressed, and you'd be thinking about that appointment for most of the day, and then it would arrive, and then once it had gone, you'd kind of like settle down a little bit, but there's a bit of anxiety there. And having this conversation, I was looking forward to it in a way, because I was going to be offloading, and there was going to be no more kind of that anxiousness. And she burst into tears and said, well, who's going to look after me now? And, I've really enjoyed, and I'm thinking, we
really
are on totally different levels as to where I thought you hated me. But actually, it was all about the anxiety and, of the actual dentistry. And it wasn't me she was, hated. It was dentistry. Being in a dental practice.
And that's when people, I don't get it very often, but say, oh, I hate dentists, or I hate the hygienist. And I said, oh, you mean you don't like dentistry? But things have changed a lot. So you have to, change them. But it's, I think the other thing where we lose cues, like sometimes people get into trouble with a patient because if we met them socially, we'd say, oh, they're a bit aggressive, or they're speaking to me harshly, or we just don't get on. But in dentistry, we know that people are scared. And when people are scared or tired or hungry, they act differently.
Very much so.
So our environment here is, it's a bit like people say, oh, you've got such nice patients when they come in, or a locum nurse. Oh, everyone's... I said, because we're nice to them. If you go to Emirates check-in on business class, everyone's very nice.
Yes.
You go to the same people, put them in Ryanair and, argue about the bags, they'll all be not very nice. So we try and create an environment where we're nice to them and they're nice to us.
Yes.
But we lose the cues if someone is scared, because they might come across as aggressive, and we think, oh no, they're not aggressive, they're just scared. And you go a little bit further down the path, and most of the time they change. But sometimes they weren't, they were just not very nice people in the beginning. So it's really hard to read people, because we second guess ourselves with our intellect.
Yeah, very, very much so. And I think from past experience, it is a real shame. But if you've had a day list full of patients, 20 plus, and you've had one patient that hasn't been very nice, which of those patients do you remember at the end of the day? It's such a shame. It's such a shame.
You can't help it. It's that one person or that one issue, or you forget the whole everything, and you've just gone on to there. And I tell Aria when she's upset about something, it looks this big because you're looking at it close. Just put it back. It's still the same thing, but actually it's just tiny now. Yeah. And it is just time and perspective.
Yes, very much true. So. Comes with age and experience, I think, as well, doesn't it?
Well, it still bothers me, I still get upset. Because, again, we're so trying to help people and so trying to be nice, and it's people who get complaints, they're doing their really best, and then when someone does write to the GDC about them, it's so upsetting to them. It's like a knife in the back, because they tried really hard to look after that patient, really tried to have a relationship with that patient, and then it's like the ultimate divorce. They're not, they're trying to be angry with you.
Yes.
And you thought you were trying to do the right thing. So that's why there's so much mental health issues with, especially when the GDC takes 2 or 3 years to conclude something.
Yeah.
That's a death sentence. I mean, that really is appalling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully they're a bit better, but there was something on Facebook here. Someone said, "Oh, it's finally 3 years later. It's now resolved." So
It's a long
there's still got
time.
a lot of catching up to do.
You think 3 years with that hanging over you must be an awful, awful thing.
You live and drink it every day, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, every relationship you have, your wife, your kids, your partner, your patients, will all be polluted.
Yes.
You can't help it. You can't help keep that in.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, how do you manage with the stress, isn't it? Is there any sort of techniques that you use? I know what I do. I go for a run.
I think that's I wish I could do that. I'm not very fit at the moment. But exercise and walk, my dad's a retired GP. He said walking solves everything. You know, if your hips hurt, go for a walk. If you're stressed, go for a walk. So you used to do a lot of walking, especially in lockdown. And even at university with Habib, we used to walk 20 miles. Yeah. So I think you're doing absolutely, that's the right thing. I don't know how I stress relieve. Having little ones now, my hobbies have gone and sports have gone and TV's gone.
For now.
For now, yeah. And it's a worthwhile trade-off, obviously. I don't know. I think it is just the love of having children. When you see the little bits of joy, it just makes up for everything.
Yeah.
So a little smile or a little cute or a little, good morning, Daddy, in the morning, or or the baby even now is coming when I come home from work. He's sort of tottering along and trying to grab me. So, I haven't got a better answer apart from they give you joy, but no one told me about the worry. I didn't realise I was going to be worried for the rest of my life. I honestly didn't know that.
In abundance.
Yeah, like where have they fallen over? What's that? Is that sharp? That's a bit of just everywhere. You're scanning now.
Absolutely, you see the world in a different way when you have children.
Yeah, you can't relax. Restaurants. So. That's so. Yeah, they give me joy, so I'm very grateful for that because I'm late to the party in that one, but hopefully I've got some experience that will help me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. We are over time.
Wow, we are.
Yeah, which is a great sign because I think we should do this again, Neil. I'd love to.
I was going to say this is part 1.
Yeah. Great.
Well, we've been around the houses, and because I know Carl so well, even though I haven't seen him a lot, you have you're in the fire for a small amount of time, but that melds you.
Yeah.
And I remember we had I don't know where we went to. We went to a little hospital placement, and we were doing oral surgery or maxillofacial surgery. We both went. I don't know if it was Litchfield or something, but I still remember how much fun we had.
Yeah.
And I got told off. And he wasn't helping me, by the consultant, because we were all gowned up and watching. We had a late night. I yawned, and the consultant, in those days they were hardcore, absolutely had a go at me. And I think it was rectal surgery. He put me on a stool right in the deep end, and I was thinking, I'm going to fall in. I'm so tired, into the danger zone. But yeah, we had a lot of good laughs. And, those 4 or 5 years at uni, they really, even now, when we speak to our peers, it could be 20 years later and it's just like going back in time.
Do you remember the practice that we went to and you drove and the guy ran the practice? I think he also had his son there and he was running 3 separate chairs at the same time. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of like in and out of the 2 surgeries upstairs, and I think he'd run down, and he was telling us this is how you do it.
I did it for a bit. I had 2 surgeries in my first year, second year.
Yeah.
But I remember I was going to start drilling an upper right 5, and my nurse just went, you can't keep up. But that was 50, 60 patients a day. I think I don't know if they still do that on the NHS. Probably, I don't think they can.
I don't think so. I'm not looking at the list that we see. I don't think that happens. I'm not seeing a list like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're lucky if we have 15, Kate?
Yes.
So incredible, great times. Yeah.
Well, lovely meeting you, Kate, and pleasure to see you as always, Carl.
Great to see you, mate.
Well, I think it's 25th anniversary coming up next year, so we've got to plan something.
Do you know what I need? I need to. I'm in the WhatsApp group. I don't really read my WhatsApp messages very often. I need to discipline myself and have a look and actually get myself over there. Where are you planning on doing it?
Probably Birmingham, because that seems to be where the cohort is still.
Yeah.
So Bobby Brown's maybe.
Yeah, it'd be great to see everybody again. Bobby Brown's. Bobby Brown's. Is that still there?
Who knows? I don't know. We'll make it so.
It won't be a toga night, will it? It's not going to be toga.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, no. Right, on that note.
Yeah. Good time to end. Thank you so much for the invite.
No problem. Have a lovely day. And as I say, hopefully you'll come back on, Neil, and this will just be part 1.
Brilliant.
Take care.
Excellent.
Take care.
Bye.
Right, you're ending the call. Bye.
Bye.